Master Reddit. Subscribe for more videos.
Or disturbing fact that would probably keep most people awake at night. A friend of mine had a brother who died in a creepily abrupt and wholly unexpected way. His brother was just 30 years old, a fit runner and soccer player. One night after a few drinks with friends he returned home and fell asleep in his chair whilst watching TV. He fell asleep sitting upright with his head resting forward, chin on his chest. Try it now, sit upright and angle your chin down as far as you can, take a breath. Feel how slightly labored it is? Well, he slowly suffocated himself to death through the night simply down to head-neck angle. Scary stuff. This is more sad. Some hospitals have chilled cribs for stillborn babies. They look like normal cribs but they are cooled. It's designed for families to say goodbye before the child is taken away. Some hospitals even provide a photography service for these families. You can even donate money so more hospitals have these cribs. It's sad that something like that needs to exist, but kind for families in that situation. LD nurse here, cuddle cots are one of the best inventions. We spend hours dressing their infant in angel dresses made out of old wedding dresses or baptism outfits that are then donated to dress the babies in for this specific event, and it's very hard because the bodies are most of the time so tiny and the parents like to help and watch and you don't want to move the body in a weird way, then gently get hand and feet prints and clay molds of the hands and feet, which is sometimes horrifically hard due to the size and decomposition of the body, and sometimes the bones crack or skin begins to come off. Then we take photos, or they have a professional take some, and they get to keep the baby in the room with them and on the cuddle cot for as long as they need. We can't stress this enough. It's all up to them and it never seems like enough. It's heartbreaking to watch. I've done this countless times in my career and I'll have another countless patients in my future. It's the part of becoming a labor and delivery nurse that nobody warns you about. It's not always happy deliveries and cuddling babies. Before cuddle cots they got to decide on how long, but the bodies would start to decompose and the blankets would get soaked with their fluids and have to be changed out until the skin starts to stick to it, which they see and inevitably can't handle anymore. There's nothing fundamentally stopping something in your brain from breaking forever while you sleep tonight. You could be hungry forever, lose your eyesight, become consumed with uncontrollable rage, whatever. All it takes is a tiny hemorrhage in the right spot responsible for regulating some signals, and they can happen to literally anyone. My mother woke up one day and was blind. Perfectly healthy, mid-40s. I was young so I don't remember all the details, but they took her to the hospital and nobody could figure out what was wrong with her. They figured she had MS or something similar. Eventually her sight did come back in a month or two, and she can see fine now, although she is colorblind. It's just so scary to know that she went to bed feeling normal and woke up blind, and that it could happen to anyone. There is a plant called dendrocnide moroides, also known as gimpy gimpy, or the suicide plant. It's mostly found in Australia and has little stinging hairs all over it. When touched, they inject a neurotoxin in your body which hurts so much, that most people rather killed themselves than waiting the 1 or 2 days until it gets better. I have the information from another Redditor on this sub, and haven't found anything that literally says, yeah they killed themselves, but I do believe it's true. Anyway, Ernie Ryder, who got hit by this plant in 1963 said, for 2 or 3 days the pain was almost unbearable, I couldn't work or sleep, then it was pretty bad pain for another fortnight or so. The stinging persisted for 2 years and recurred every time I had a cold shower. There's nothing to rival it, it's 10 times worse than anything else. Source: https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/dendrocnide_moroids. I saw a show segment on these and the locals have a cure now. They keep wax strips handy, like for waxing your leg hair off. The strips pull the little hair-like pain transmitters out of your skin. The host of the show, like an absolute idiot, touched the plant with his finger and he said the pain made him want to throw up. The wax strip made the pain manageable. It's estimated that there's somewhere around 25 to 50 serial killers that are active each year in the U.S. 1 per state. Nice. That's 49 for Florida and 1 for Alaska. The Pacific Northwest would like a word with you. 30% of the weight of solid feces is dead bacteria. Edit, for those of you requesting a source, here you go, https://www.britannica.com/science/feces. I'm actually editing a book that gives a higher percentage, which I had to fact check. I've not received a response to my author query about the discrepancy, but that's okay. I'm at the limit of my curiosity. Also, in terms of source, the person below that said, typically, the anus, made me laugh, as did the person who responded, typically? For those of you who want a percentage in liquid feces, I'm having some difficulty with the centrifuge and will get back to you. In rare cases, people can die from insomnia. This is a lengthy post, but this was almost me. The longest I went without sleep was over 6 days or 150 hours. Normally I'd do about half a week awake, then my body would shut down, and the cycle would continue. It is the worst kind of torture. You are lying there at night, you want sleep, you know you need sleep, you know you are dying, you are so utterly tired, your whole mind is screaming, but your body completely betrays you and refuses to give it to you. No matter how much you beg, or cry, or how much medication you take, it will not happen. Every second feels like an hour, until you reach the point where you hallucinate or have no memory for hours at a time with cuts and bruises all over you from injuries, then time is nothing and you barely even realize you are existing. You go into REM while awake and things get freaky, can't distinguish your hallucinations from reality. I still remember the day I got my first 8 hours of normal sleep, and I could remember things after 30 seconds that someone had told me. I could smell again, and after a few regular sleep cycles I didn't collapse when I tried walking up the stairs. Life is precious and time is finite, so go hug the people you love, and in all seriousness let them know if you cannot sleep and seek help, it is not okay. This one's a little esoteric, but false vacuum decay, the fundamental properties of the universe might suddenly decide to change one day. It might be an insignificant change, or so great that all matter would just cease to exist, and we wouldn't see it coming until we blinked out of existence. Edit, fixed link so it didn't point to the in fiction bit. Edit 2, as several people have pointed out below, there's a good Kurzgesagt video on this. Upvotes to everyone who linked it. People who sleep less than 6 hours a night are at an increased risk to die prematurely. My husband stays up late a lot, and he read this information recently. It was enough to put the fear of God in him for like 3 days, then he was back to all-nighters. Edit, but I like the irony that this information is what would keep people from sleeping lol. You have mites in your eyelashes. Oh, I know all about this. Ever since I was a kid, I have had the sensation that an eyelash has dropped into my eye. I am always digging into my eye to get out the eyelashes or crud or whatever. Also my face is itchy, allergy to dust mites, mold, house dust, trees, grass, tobacco etc. So I live with a continually itchy nose, so in my 40s, my optometrist tells me I have Demodex in my eyelashes. She can tell by looking with a huge lens or something. She gets me these eye wipes with tea tree oil. Blefadex, another one is Clearadex, the itch disappears. After 30 years of itching. So I'm pretty much ecstatic. I try them on the rest of my face, itch and redness are gone. You can't use straight tea tree oil, it's too strong. But it kills Demodex, whereas a lot of things don't. They live elsewhere on your body, so I don't think you can kill them all. So I have to use my eye wipes a few times a week. Apparently Demodex are part of normal facial flora, but they become overnumerous in some people. Their poop causes irritation. They are associated with rosacea, but it's not a 100% research thing yet. The serial killer Richard Chase would try random houses to break into. If the door was unlocked, he saw it as being an invitation. If it was locked, he saw it as a sign that he was unwelcome. When I was younger, I was in my room one time, home alone. I heard our front door open and someone come inside, while everyone was out. Hours later, Every comes home. I asked, no one had stopped by. It always made me very uncomfortable. I only really heard the sound of them coming in, not leaving. I was burgled a few years ago. It was about 2 a.m. and I was sat at my computer wearing full headphones, and an Oculus Rift headset, home alone. It's only when I took it all off and went to get a drink, that I saw all my downstairs doors were wide open, as well as the rear exit door. It still freaks me out to think someone could have been stood right behind me, and I would have had no idea he probably saw what you were watching in the Oculus and Notepad put. Weird kinda porn, man. You could have a brain aneurysm with 0 symptoms. Any day it could rupture and kill you from significant blood loss. Happened to my mom's friend right in front of her. The seemingly perfectly healthy woman died at 40 without warning during a work trip and while having drinks with her friends. 1 second she was laughing, the next second she was on the ground. Never woke up again. My poor mom was the one that had to call her husband and kids. Aneurysm and blood clot are the two types of death that scare the shit out of me. Silent killers, it's terrifying, but I think I'd prefer that over an extremely painful death. As a person dies, your sense of hearing is the last sense to be lost. That's more comforting to me, potentially hearing your loved ones. It could be in the 70s to 80s, the first case of many Southeast Asian refugees in the U.S. who died screaming in their sleep was recorded. This was common for Lao Hmong men who lived through the Cambodian genocide and CIA recruitment for the Lao Civil War. It's theorized that this was an extreme form of PTSD. One story, the man had stayed up for days fearing he would be attacked if he slept. He drank coffee and lied to his parents about sleeping. He did everything he could to keep from sleeping. When he finally fell asleep, his parents thought this crisis was over. Then they heard screams in the middle of the night. By the time they got to him, he was dead. He died in the middle of a nightmare. Edit, I said first recorded but I'm dumb and this was not the first record of it. And Lao Civil War not Nam. These stories were what inspired Wes Craven to make A Nightmare on Elm Street. The crazy part of that is how vivid dreams can be. He was probably reliving whatever horror he went through a second time. Think of someone you love but only see a few times a year. Now take a guess at how many years until one of you dies. How many more times in your lifetime are you going to see that person? If you moved away from your parents and only see them 3 times a year and you expect them to live another 30 years, that's less than 100 times you will ever see them again. Edit, this is what first made me really think about this idea. Probably where Aziz Ansari it from too. Dude, you just wrecked me with this. I had to cancel my yearly trip to see my family because of COVID. And it's a yearly trip at best with my mom, and I've only seen my dad once in the past 3 years. Fuck everything. You can actually wake up during surgery. But the worst part is that you are still paralyzed. So you can feel everything what they do to you but you can't signal to them that you are conscious. This is one of my worst fears. Actually, if a sedative wears off but a paralytic does not, the only thing you can do is cry. We were taught in school that if your sedated patient cries you done messed up and you need to resedate right away. Addition, in the context of what I was taught paralyzation, there is one warning sign: sedation is wearing off. When watching the patient's CO2 levels while they're breathing, the waveform the monitor creates will get a notch on it from the patient starting to breath against the ventilations they're being given. When an autopsy is performed, the organs are removed, weighed, sliced and placed into a plastic bag. This includes the brain and tongue. Once they're finished, they put everything together in the plastic bag and place it in the chest cavity. So when you're buried, your brain is actually in your chest. Not always, depends on who does the autopsy. Assisted an autopsy and we sutured the brain back into the skull after weighing it. We didn't weigh the tongue either, but everything else was put into the bag into the body though, like you said. Why is the tongue removed? This bothers me more than anything else. So they can't scream.